Calling this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Lori.
Thank you. Sherry Simmons,
Here.
Zach Gainer,
Here.
Patty Burns,
Here.
Evan King,
Here.
Joanna Para,
Here.
Don Weber,
Here.
and Matt Lyman is excused this evening. Your ex officio, Counselor Trista Pavement.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, let's go into approval of the minutes.
I would make a motion for the approval of the minutes.
I'll second it. Okay, I have a first by, Don Weber, a second by Patty Burns. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment?
I didn't receive anything prior to the meeting. There's
Nobody online.
and there's no one in attendance.
That one participant is us.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to unfinished business. A review of the August work session with city council. I thought we haven't gotten together to talk since we met with them to see if, anybody had any comments, concerns, additions, anything like that.
Did you pull the mic up a little bit? Is it on?
Yes.
Okay, no, just keep it hold up. Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Anybody?
Are we, any update on the position? The Parks and Rec position? That would be, I guess, a question for Bill.
Is that on the agenda?
It's, it is under this part, there's park supervisor position and programs,
Okay, all right. So were you gonna talk about,
movies in the park.
were you going to talk about what council discussed with you and I get to that later, or what do you prefer?
That's what I would like to talk about, what we discussed with council about.
Yeah, that's fine. So do you want me to start with that one then?
Sure,
Okay, just making sure
yes, thank you.
not trying to. Yeah, so great question. Basically, we're just kind of at a point with council where, I'm going to discuss with them on Monday that we need to move forward with bringing the position to them for the job description for approval so that we can begin the process of hiring somebody. To date, it's been kind of wrapped up in the complication of, do we get more law enforcement personnel and pay for that versus this position? And it's kind of been discussed as an either or with hesitance to spend more money. But at the end of the day, this position is also scoped to be part of city communications work, day-to-day social media posting, announcing events, working on a communications plan for events and programming, as well as developing a plan and implementing a plan for the beginnings of Parks and Rec programming. So it's about communication, a lot of it is. And we need to move forward with all of that. So it's kind of it'll be in council's court what they want to do. They have to approve a job description before I can take that officially approved job description and go out and try to hire somebody. So I'll discuss it with them on Monday.
So you had stated that it was either additional law enforcement or this, and what is the decision to go forward with this versus the law enforcement? Is it because of the levy?
It's just a matter of the budget that council adopted in June has in it 2 years, a full biennium of the program supervisor position that we're talking about. It also has 1 year of an additional fourth deputy for patrol of additional hours each week. But there's just a general sense on council, or has been, about seeing it kind of as either or, like if we're gonna add staff, one of those two things, shouldn't we make it law enforcement rather than this program supervisor position? So there's some conversation to have to just get it over the top because the law enforcement officer discussion is related, but the challenge from the budget committee to the city council was to figure out a new funding source to help pay for another law enforcement position. Whereas the program supervisor position was fully budgeted for 2 years with existing revenues and that sort of thing. There has been on council just a general sense though of hesitance to commit to the additional cost of new staff, this one or that one. So it's just more discussion on their part, I would say.
I think the confusion, like I attended the budget committee. I mean, I'm a fan of finding money for the police tonight, but that was a much bigger item in dollars than the parks was, the supervisor. The supervisor was put in the budget. The police was not put in the budget. The idea was, I remember the discussion, let's find some more money so we can go to hiring that person. So I'm a little confused why now. I don't understand why it's
one or the other.
because the one was it's already in the budget to me. Now, again, I'm a fan of finding money for the police, but to me, I don't know why we'd revisit, because that was budget discussion. I went there, they said, we are gonna budget this full-time position. So to me, it's a little awkward now to back out of that. I mean, that was right. So I don't really understand why we'd say we're not gonna do it now.
Yeah, no, thank you, Don. I think what it boils down to is there's hesitance to go out to the community and say, we need you to pay more to pay for the police officer. So if we don't hire the program supervisor position, that's money that could just pay for the police officer without going out and seeking a new revenue source. So that's kind of the equation that some have had in their head.
Well, but my thing is, that was the discussion during the budget process. And the decision in the budget process was to fund this and find more money for the other. So that's my only thing that's awkward is. To me, that's what was decided. They could have decided then, we're not gonna fund either, but that isn't what. The approved budget has this position in it. It doesn't have the police in it. Again, I would say, go find that. Right, the current budget.
The police officer is in there, but only for one of the 2 years. And there was nearly a movement in the budget adoption process by council to cut the program supervisor position. And in order to avoid that, I reminded council that they control adopting the job description and can therefore control when the hire occurs. But I didn't think it was a good idea to just cut the position from the budget that was approved. So we have conversation that has to happen is the bottom line.
Thank you for that explanation. So in my notes, from the work session, we discussed, moving forward, movies in the park, the Parks Foundation, update park play equipment at Louis Wentz Park, potentially night markets, and signage in, at each of the parks with the name of the park and stating that it's a city park. So those are the notes that I took. Any feedback, any thoughts? Has anybody thought about that?
In what way you thought about it?
Are we just gonna talk about it and not do anything? Are we gonna move something forward?
So for the movies in the park, we need to have a license. Right? 700 and some odd dollars, 600.
It was six something, yeah. We had funds in the concerts in the park
Hmm.
that we didn't use that could be potentially used for the movies in the park. Could it?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's money in the budget for music in the park, but if you wanted to do something different in the park, some sort of different entertainment, the line item account name isn't ironclad, you have to spend it on music in the park. It's, the money's there. I think we would you just wanna, as a body, either in agreement with council or make the recommendation to council that you don't want us, that you don't think that all the money should be spent on concerts only. Movies should be in the mix, and then we move forward.
They, I think they had a pretty good turnout, but last year the schools have the ability to do the same concept, but in the gym. There's pros and cons, you're inside, but you don't have to worry about weather, and they have a sound system and a screen, my understanding is, I knew people that went to the night and they said it was fun, so that would be another option is work through the school. We could reserve the school if we wanted. And anyway, that's just another option if we wanted to.
I mean, we could still do some of both also. Because it's a lot cheaper to put on, as far as at least my understanding, it's a lot cheaper to put on a movie at the park than it is a concert at the park. At least that's my understanding.
Depends on who you have. First, you've gotta get the license, then you've gotta get the equipment. I don't know how much, we even know where we can get that from.
I sent out a equipment information. Was it to you? Or in the email thread that we had?
Oh, I don't recall it.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
sent
know,
I
out
don't
a
recall
list
seeing
of
it.
equipment, where to purchase it, the sizing, all of that. I wasn't thinking we were gonna be doing anything in the park because weather-wise, I just think it's the worst time of year to do a movie in the park.
Right.
Outside. I do think the indoor is a great component right now in the fall and in the winter to do a movie indoors. I don't know what the capacity and if it's done in here. I've heard it's been done in here by the library many years ago, but I just don't know what. I mean, I think we have the sound in here, right? And we have the projector, so it'd be just the licensing that we would be getting. And yeah, it would range between 500 to 700 for the licensing to do it in here. I did reach out to North Plains Elementary to see what their schedule looked like for the fall. I have not had a reply in regards to what their schedule looked like for their gym. To see what that availability looked like for the fall.
I could reach out to the at Pilati, kind of the parent group, because the other thing would be to do a combo thing with them. Maybe we could do it jointly, and then maybe we kick some money in for popcorn or something. But again, there wouldn't be hardly any costs if we did it that way, because even when we rent the gym, it's like $20 an hour through the city.
Right.
So I mean, that would be a lot lower overhead.
It's
And
like-
I'll go ahead and just ask the people when I see them if they'd be interested in doing it with us, because that would be an easy way to promote it then, because they would promote it through the parents.
And I'm wondering if they have, is it just a one-time license or is it like a yearly license
For the movie,
for the movie?
it's a one time.
Yeah, someone.
Yeah, you pay for the one time
For each,
for each.
and it's
movie.
for a specific date
And
too.
yeah, you're basically letting them know we're gonna do this movie on this date. And the lower prices by letting them know it's a community event. We're not making money out of it. We're not charging an entrance fee.
Mhm.
Those are the things to stipulate, where the licensing is more on a lesser fee than more of an expensive fee.
Mhm. Okay. As far as the. As far as the Parks Foundation.
I do have an update.
I do have an update. As of Saturday, we have received, $736.72. 1,553 letters were mailed out October 1st. They received 83 back for a total of 1,470 letters. So. And then I have a donation, in my hands from a local resident that I'll take over to, Cindy Hurst, tomorrow. And pass that over, and that's $350. So it's slowly moving.
Let's start.
Yeah. Mhm. The park, the park play equipment. Is that something that we want to continue to work on? For the Louis Wentz Park? And then I guess we would need direction on how to move forward with that.
We have money for it?
I believe we have money in our SDC's fund. I think that would qualify because it's a brand new, there's no playground facilities there. I think that would count. And if we needed to add sidewalks or any other thing to that park to expand its capacity, I believe we have that fund within the SDC's. I don't have a specific program that was designated for Louis Wentz Park, though we have it in trails, but I can move it towards that.
The nice thing, that building that was really kind of scary, that's changed so that, you know, it's been fixed up. It looks very nice. It's a much safer feeling. The only thing I notice when I'm over by there, there's just never any action there, but I'm sure there's kids that could come over there from wherever they live.
Yeah, because there's nothing over there for them to play on.
There's no reason for them to come there, so, I mean, I think we'd have to do some sort of community engagement process. If we knew we could afford X dollars, we could say, here's your, pick which kind of equipment you're most interested in, if we knew a budget. I mean, I'm sure there would be some of them that would like it. Yeah,
Yeah, because there's all those, homes over off of, what is it, 321st and 320, all those, yeah, lots of younger families over there, so, and there's a little walking path that goes almost right to it.
yeah, there's nothing else close, so it's a
Right.
good idea.
If it goes through with the play structure there, I wonder if it'd be better just to remove the walking path that goes through it. And just put one on the outside, so we actually have more room for the fall. The fall buffer that you need for play structures.
That would probably be part of it. Would it also cover the fencing around the park?
Likely, I would defer to Bill on this question. If for a project of this magnitude, it'd probably be over $250,000 is my guess. But we didn't, I don't think we actually have a line item in our budget for
The
that
Louis Wentz,
at Louis Wentz.
could we get that much equipment on that park? It's itty bitty.
If we moved the sidewalk, like what they were talking about, we could probably design it so we could. It would be a small play structure.
Yeah,
But as far as us using the funds for that, is that something that we'd have to take over to the budget committee to approve that? Cause I think that would be a pretty sizable chunk.
No, I think the way to do it is use some SDC money to pay for somebody to kind of just do a physical feasibility.
Okay,
And then see what can be done, and then figure out what it would cost.
okay, cause I think we have the money in the SDCs. I didn't know about the process if we would need to get the budget committee to approve a project of that magnitude, or if we just kind of use it.
Yeah, it would depend. I think we would need to find out what a feasibility report said about what we could do. and what the costs might be, and then we would know what would be required.
Okay, I wonder if something like this would be a community outreach to see what kind of facility the community would like to have in there. And maybe have a few options, like come up with, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 different options and have the community choose. And then just kind of have the cost of the potential cost of those projects.
Or I mean, we could say, we're only gonna spend X, and within that number, here's your options. I mean, I like to keep it more controlled. You know, cause it doesn't, when I'm over by there, I don't think it really has to be a very big structure.
Yeah, there's not a lot of space.
No,
You
it's-
can put something
You
there.
might be able to do it for 100, I don't know, but we could, figure it out and then get the expert. I don't know if there's a standard company we've used like for this one. Just get them to come over there and they're pretty good at telling you. You know, for 100,000, we could do A, B, or C.
Is that part of the feasibility?
I think that would be
study,
separate.
Or
from
is
the
it separate?
feasibility.
Okay.
Do you have a rough like estimate as far as like the potential play structure size? Like is Burke Playground Equipment that makes a lot of the playgrounds around here, they're out of, well, the owner of that company is my neighbor or was my neighbor in Wisconsin, I can make a phone call. So do we have like a potential size that I could?
I can look into the square footage of
We've
that.
got it right
It's-
here.
Yeah, it's not huge. I know we've got that play structure out there at the water park. I mean, that's not a very big park either.
Right.
And
This one has
so,
more space than that.
yeah, but I was kind of just roughly estimating, it might be about $250,000 if you include like the study and everything about that, maybe the sidewalks, fencing, the whole shebang as far as that, not just the structure itself.
Yeah, we might, I mean, I was over there the other day, we might be able to just put the playground on one side, the picnic tables on the other, we could decide.
And we could spend $50,000 on
If we
it.
had enough, people like if it's covered the tables, keeps the rain on, whatever. But if somebody could get some basic numbers and we knew a budget.
That's another thing. For when they start working on grants, maybe to look into.
Can we pull this up?
You're looking lean forward instead. Maybe, and that's something, when we start working on grants, maybe we look into something for that as well. Just a thought.
But we do have SBC money available to us to use for that, so.
I mean, that's a great idea though, because it would be very sellable, that group, because the dog park has worked fine, but they lost their playground, so this would
We
be
did,
good.
yeah, yeah. So do we need to make a recommendation to council that we want to move forward with this and they have to approve it, or what is the process now?
You know, I think you can send a recommendation, or you can say the body recommends studying the feasibility of what can be put in there, what the cost might be. That would be the best way to do it, and it's coming from you all, and then they hear it. I don't think there's gonna be anybody opposed to it, and then that just kind of gives staff the ability to move forward with something. That, council is acknowledging is a good idea.
And do you just need that in a letter or an email? How do you need that?
And just, letter or email, just something that it's clear from you all, yeah.
Do we have consensus to move forward with that?
With the park.
With the park, yes?
Could we like get a yay or a nay vote, so I have it out loud
I
instead of
motion
just
to
nods?
going forward with looking at play structures for the park.
Yes,
I think we're being clear, the understanding is there is money currently available, so I think.
Correct.
We'd wanna spend within that, so.
Yes, we don't want to spend more,
Exactly.
no. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Actually, there was no second. Is there a second to the motion? Sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay. A first by Evan, a second by Patty. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
Does anybody know what the memorial rock there is?
So what again?
There's a memorial rock.
It has a plaque on it.
Yes,
Do you know what it is for?
it has the name of the park and probably information on the person that's named it after.
Okay,
Yeah,
cause I'm reading about, it.
So
so
I
it's,
looked at it a bunch of times, but I don't think.
it's
I've ever-
0.2 acres. It has 2
Right.
picnic tables, a bench, the rock, dog waste dispenser, 2 garbage cans. So, yeah,
Louis Wentz, wasn't he a mayor? I believe he was.
is that what
I
it,
believe he was a mayor.
okay,
Louis.
Are we able to,
We'll keep the rock.
well, I was gonna ask, are we able to move the rock or does it have to stay, put? We have to design around it? I mean, I'm just asking if it's.
It's just, it's
Probably
it's
we
not a
can-
boulder, it's just a rock.
Kind of a boulder.
I don't know any history about the sidewalk. There's a sidewalk in the middle of that park as well, and I don't know if that was something that was specifically designed as part of that park, or if there was donations, or, sometimes there's scout projects, or I don't know what the history behind that sidewalk to nowhere is.
I think it was just designed that way.
Yeah, I don't remember anything
Yeah.
special about the sidewalk, just something to make it so people would actually go through the park.
Yeah,
You said almost a quarter acre, is that right?
0.2
0.2.
acres.
But yeah, that sidewalk would have to go to put anything significant in there, most likely.
I'm just not sure, like you said, we have a small little, Sunset Ridge has one tiny playground and that other one. And those work pretty well, depending on how you. Anyway, we could,
Pocket park, yeah,
pardon,
like a pocket park.
exactly. Cause people still like it if you can have a few picnic tables and if we can afford to. The gazebo.
okay. Okay, thank you. Let's see, let's move on to, the car parking and the bicycles at the Jacines. I know we've talked about this multiple times. And it's here again.
I think we even updated it to council. They were in agreement, but it's not done in a proper, what do we need to do with the process?
The format to.
Yeah, the format
make
to
things
actually
move.
make it.
Mhm.
I think we were all in agreement with this one.
I mean, I go by there almost every Saturday. There's approximately 30 spots. In the lot, I think the most I've ever seen, like Sherry and I were saying, a few times there's almost like 20 cars, but. By the time I go back, if I'm out later, like by noon, they're clearing out, so in general. The heavy usage of the park is more the afternoon, the parties, the heavy usage of the bikers is in the morning. So, and my other concern would be, I'm not really sure how we would legally. For a public park, I'm not really sure how we would legally say who can park there and who can't. And how you'd ever enforce it. It just seems problematic because they're kind of like, I know people that park there and they go for a walk or they go for a run or they. I don't know how we get into an enforceable action on who can park there, to be honest. And I'm not sure at this point. It's a huge problem because like I said, in general, they're clearing out at the time the parties and things start, so it kind of. I don't know.
Well, I don't think we quite exactly right now need to go down a legal road. We could always just start with the simplest thing, which is ask nicely. And unless if it starts to really become a problem, we don't really need to do too much more than that. Put some signage suggesting.
Has anybody complained about the lack of parking? If there's not been any complaints, why are we worried about it?
Occasional complaints, more grumblings than anything. But it's very far, I don't think I've had a written complaint maybe in another year or so,
Okay.
but it's very few and far between.
Did you have a comment?
Could a time limit be instituted, like with signage? Of, you know, I think to Evan's point, right, start small, and could it be some simple signage that says 2 hour time limit? And then, you know, if it continues to be an issue, right, then we look into other avenues, could that be a potential?
I mean, the issue that comes up with anything like that is it's not really enforceable. I mean, that's the problem. It's a fake sign because we don't have a law enforcement to go by and mark tires and write times down. And so pretty much people know that it's not real. So I don't know. That would be my only thing. If it's worth the effort, right? Because people do respond when you put a sign down, they'll keep track and then they'll be mad at the city. Cause somebody just parked there for 3 hours and you didn't do anything about it. And the city won't, cause it's, right?
Yeah, it turns into an enforcement issue. I mean, we could always put up a courtesy sign, hey, please be aware that this park is reserved for using the park itself. One thing to also consider is that it was brought to our attention that there are websites out there that are pointing towards Jesse Mays as the epicenter of where to start these bike rides. So maybe contacting the organizations that have that as the start point. That might be a good conversation to have. Also, there is a construction project going to be on the perimeter that is going to be opening up a lot of parking spots on the perimeter here in the future. It might be another year before, maybe after Garlic Festival next year when it's truly available. If we can hold off another year. But that will open up a lot of parking spaces and we could put more signage up that say, if you are here for the biking, please park on the perimeter, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
I think another thing we had discussed was signage on routing people to be aware of the parking by, Kim's Market? To also bring people down to that main street and businesses there as well. That was another reasoning behind it and thought forward is having the bikers use that
You
area.
just have to tell them where the water and the bathrooms are, cause that's the thing they tell me. They come here because of both bathrooms and there's water, so they like those two things. Which I'm not sure what we tell them, right? They're not gonna, they like where they're at right now, so I don't know how we get them to move actually. I think if we have more perimeter parking, I've talked to some of them, they said, oh, if you had more perimeter, we don't mind. I think some of them would do that. So,
They can park around the perimeter, there's nothing stopping them, it's just not that obvious unless you live here and you know you can do that.
yeah, it's kind of muddy and.
Oh, no. Mud. Welcome to work.
So are we fine with just letting this ride out?
It's gonna be hard to enforce it.
All right,
I think so.
Alright, maybe, I don't think we should put anything like, say this is the law, but like just maybe put up a sign that says. Asking them to please park around the perimeter of the park. Before, you know, the summer comes out and they come back in full force again. No? Cause sometimes all you have to do is just ask. Whether they read it or not, or
I think since there haven't been any complaints, we should just let it go. I mean, if there were complaints, then I could see really looking at addressing it, but for now, maybe it'll fix itself after the parking's redone.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's my take on it anyway.
I would agree.
I would agree too. No complaints, and then with the changes that are gonna happen around the perimeter, we can just put it on pause and see what changes afterwards.
Dawn, you're in agreement, Zach? You okay?
I'm fine either way.
Danny, okay? We're good. Do you have anything to add to that? Kristen?
No, that's exciting to hear about the perimeter parking and, you know, I would just encourage that partnership between council, you know, a year from now, if this continues to be, you know, a roadblock or a hurdle to partner with council, because that's something that, you know, we can also, as policymakers, help steer and try to find a solution in the city.
Great, thank you. All right. Next is new business. Jesse May's pavilion rental discussion. I think that the reason this came up is because there was, a rental that happened. We had no idea how many people were gonna show up. It was just flyers were put, postcards were put on people's doors around town. It didn't designate who it was or anything like that. I had
Flyers for what?
for a
Low
for a
block party.
free dinner at the pavilion.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm,
And you're talking about the overflow block party, right?
correct, yeah.
Was the weirdest thing.
Well, that, we weren't told that when they rented it. It wasn't. It was just a regular rental, a private rental, you know, I mean. We weren't told that it was a big group, I mean, I don't have the rental paper in front of me, but it wasn't like. It's gonna be 100 people or it wasn't anything like that.
There was another group like that doing stuff the summer before last, and they're just kind of these startup churches. And they tend to be very nice people, but they're pretty small events usually, it's trying to get it going, and they don't even know how many people would come, but usually it's not a huge number, and they generally are real nice people, so.
Well, that it opens up room for discussion on the application. I reviewed the application, and I don't know if the rest of you got a chance to. First of all, I don't see anywhere that there's a dollar amount to rent it. Yet in the rules, it says the rental fees are due at the time of making the reservation.
Cost is $62 per a 2-hour block,
Where is that at?
right here on my paper.
Yeah, it's not on that, it's not anywhere in the application.
Yeah, we keep that on the fee schedule because the fee, typically council will adopt an increase every year. So instead of going and changing the application every year, the fee is kept off of that one.
Okay,
But the pavilion rentals, it's pretty cheap. I mean, it's really meant, you know, the intent is for smaller parties, and so it's not it's a 2-hour rental. So it's pretty.
is there a deposit that's requested? Because if they don't take
Yes.
their garbage.
Pavilion? I
Um,
don't think for the pavilion there is.
I don't think.
I don't see anything on here that says that there's a deposit.
We're not expecting any, we take a deposit on the hall because of the potential for damage. But for tables under open air tables under a cover, there's no, the risk of anything seriously being damaged that we would need a deposit doesn't exist. Now, having said that, we recently had the electrical outlet in the pavilion busted and it had to be repaired. We don't know who did it, but that's not a $500, $600 deposit issue. Like the community hall rental would be.
What about garbage? Is there garbage being left behind?
yes. We've had, normally we don't have problems, all of a sudden the last, I would say 2 months, we've had problems with the electrical outlet being destroyed, basically. We've had people leave, garbage cans with them.
They said they're supposed to do that with the pavilion rental, at least on the rules that came attached with it as well. And my thinking is if you charge them a deposit, even if it's $100, if they don't take their, or $75, if they don't take their garbage with them, they don't get their deposit back.
Oh, I see that, yeah, to be honest, we have not had an issue until just,
Recently.
yep.
And so that also requires enforcement or my crew to come back and actually check.
Well,
That's
it
another
would
aspect of it.
be on the person leaving, they should take a photo when they arrive and when they leave, timestamp for their proof.
I mean, I think it would be hard. You know, like I just used it a few weeks ago and there was a lot of garbage in it when we got there, so. I mean, I guess in theory, the picture thing, but I'm not, it's. Like I was just out there now, there's 4 corners, of course, on that pavilion, there's 3 big garbage cans there right now, so.
So maybe we need a bigger sign that says, take your garbage with you. I don't know. Is there a rule sign there?
I think there's a generic sign that says basically clean up after yourself. I have to go back over here.
And that just means they're gonna stick it in our garbage cans.
How many parties do you have in a day? What's the average?
In the summer, we were doing at least 2 a day, sometimes 3.
It was busy.
Cause you can do them at 12, 2, 4, 6.
Well,
all
that's
the
just
way
to
to 8.
reserve it. That's
We
not
were-
even.
We were,
people come
you
in.
could do them from 10 in the morning,
8 in the morning.
8 in the morning till 8 at night.
And so what about the parties, the tents and stuff that are out here?
What tents and stuff.
Parties,
I think there's people who are putting up tents and that's part of the issue is. They're extending past the pavilion and putting the parties out here.
I think it was
Parking
separate
lot.
part, when I saw it, it was separate parties.
Yeah, and we do not have
Different.
approval for that. That's something that was discussed.
Yeah, but we also don't have, who's against it.
Yeah,
I mean, the tricky part with most public parks I've been around is you can use them for free.
Yeah.
So you can show up,
first come, first serve.
pardon?
First come, first serve.
Exactly, on your section of grass, so. Technically, they can use that pavilion for free, but if I've scheduled it, they can't be there, so that's the tricky part with this whole garbage thing. I think a lot of the garbage is not the people that paid us money, it's all these other people. Which we don't really have any control over, I mean, the long-term discussion a bunch of us have had is eventually if this place is fixed up more. And we rent this and we have enough income, the ultimate solution is a staff person that works on weekends. And that's the way we would control the garbage and the people and behaviors and. I mean, I've talked to several other places that try to do this kind of stuff and they all say the same thing. If you don't have a staff person working that day, you'll have issues and.
Do you have somebody who's on call every weekend?
We do have people on call, but they're usually paid overtime at that point, so we would have to recoup that cost somehow within.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're for emergencies though, that like it, the whole point of that was to be for like water emergencies and stuff, not for parks that come in for that kind of thing.
Cause I was thinking, when the people are done with their party, they could call someone to check them out. And that person could just come and go, okay, you're clean, you're good to go.
I mean, it's not a bad idea if we were a larger organization, and yeah, that would not be a bad idea.
So I guess what I would say, what I would add to this is. Is. If you go to another city. And you rent a shelter, this is considered, we call our pavilion, but it's a shelter, renting a park shelter. When you rent it, there's a declared maximum number of people who. Can use it for the rental, and then the cost is based on that. So if you go to a, you know, it will say maximum number of people 20, maximum number of people 30 for that shelter. Per shift or per rental period. And then there's a cost for it, and the bigger the bigger the shelter, the more people, and therefore the higher the fee is. And one thing we don't have, which we can certainly move towards adding, is a cleanup fee. If it's not clean afterward, not a deposit, because then you gotta go through the whole process with city finance department getting their refund, and that's a process. Whereas if somebody, somebody shows up, takes photos, that it's, they need to send in photos of the condition. If it's not clean by our judgment, we bill them $50 cleaning fee or whatever. And that can be done. That's just adding to their bill. That's doable. It hasn't been a ton of a problem. The issue, I think, you have a couple different issues here. Number one is the pavilion rental, should it have stated maximum number of people? And we can put up a sign to say this is for more than 30, no more than 20, whatever. On the cleanup issue, which hasn't been a huge problem, it's true we have limited staff who can come in for any amount of time on the weekends when really they should be. The plan is for them to be on call for anything kind of truly emergent that comes up, whatever. Whatever emergency issue. But if people leave the pavilion messy, we can have a mechanism to just charge them for it, the extra time to clean it up. That's easy. And now on the maximum size part of the equation is what we don't want are people having events in the pavilion, including, an advertised dinner, advertised block party, when this building is really the appropriate venue for that type of activity. And I think that that's a conversation that you all talking about that, but we want to steer larger groups into this building instead of just getting a cheap use of the pavilion.
So there's 3 picnic tables under the pavilion? There's 3, and does each one hold 10 people?
Probably. We're looking at a 30-ish
So 30.
maximum capacity, yeah.
I'm just not sure there's much we can do till there's more staff. I mean, I've used it several times and I left it cleaner than I found it. It wasn't clean when I arrived, so I had to sweep it, clean the tables, but the problem wasn't another party. The problem was somebody just the night before hanging out on the tables. So that's the tricky part. How do you assess? I don't think Dustin has the staff currently now. Ideally, somebody would clean it before I got there, but there's not staff for that.
During the week, during the week, that is fine. I actually get a lot more complaints about trash before rentals than I have about, let's say, bike parking. But yes, it has been frequent where we have complained about trash before a rental, and I believe recently we even offered a refund because of that, but we.
But when I showed up on my events on Saturday, the garbage cans were mostly already filled, so somebody obviously, there wasn't enough staff to empty them every Friday, which ideally. The pavilion area would be cleaned by staff every Friday and the garbage emptied. I'm just not sure it's realistic. You don't have enough staff, right? So I think in the long run, if we could generate more money by renting this out more, if someday the kitchen's fixed up, I think we'd have enough money. It could even be a college kids we rent that's just a part-time employee. I mean, to me, the long-term goal is a person. But it doesn't seem like now these solutions are enforceable, right?
It's very difficult to enforce, yeah.
So Bill, I have a question about the group that was here promoting free food. Somebody gets sick because of passing out food. Come back on the city?
Not really. The city didn't sponsor the event. It's a city park. We asked them to declare if there's going to be food or not, just so that we're aware.
So on the flyer, it said free dinner.
It's on them. Yeah, I mean, if it's a city event,
Right,
then. But, I mean, what we can do is we can look into, we can see how it's handled elsewhere if somebody's planning on inviting for a meal, free meal or whatever, if there's some provision that no, at a shelter,
will be
you
here
can't do
Thursday
that.
night. So
I'm sorry.
The health department will be here Thursday
Yeah.
night for the chili cook-off. I can have a conversation with the
Yeah.
inspector.
Yeah.
And see what they suggest.
So, yeah, I mean, it might be that if somebody is planning to have an event where they're going to have food put out,
Right.
that in any other instance would probably have Department of Health
Right,
rules that they would have to follow.
right. It's a different event than just having a birthday party or.
Right. Well, but that kind of gets down to the point that should the shelter have events or just private parties, because they're different things.
Well,
if we put a limit on how many people are, like. As far as I can see it, there shouldn't be more than 50 people for that. That's number with including little kids.
That's probably too many.
No, that's why I said no more than 50. If they want a bigger event than that, then we would have to write out the Jesse May. Especially if they're gonna be serving free food at that level.
I mean, if it's an event, it might just be, no, sorry, the pavilion is not appropriate for that. You know, that's what it.
I mean, all that church group did is they just had pizzas, cause I was here the day after for a thing we were doing and. Some of the boxes were around, so they did the same thing that birthday parties do, they just bought some
Yeah, but
pizzas.
they kind of misrepresented themselves when they rented them.
Yeah.
They didn't tell you they were a church?
No, and then they posted these flyers all over town after the fact, you know, they rent it as a private event and then they. Basically make it a huge public event.
Right.
When they invite anybody that wants to come and offer free food. After they rented it
Kids that can
as a
make you sick
public,
too.
yeah, as a private event.
So then maybe we just gotta tighten up the application process. Where they have to say, are you a church, are you whatever, is this gonna be a public event?
Or
And
we
then,
just say no events.
pardon,
Or we say no events, only private parties.
there are events allowed here, but not there, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah, you could,
Mhm.
sure. Private only,
Mhm. Private parties. Mhm.
yeah, what do people, that would be a simple way around that. Sure.
Any thoughts on that? This one? No?
No, I think, ultimately it comes down again to enforcement, right? How do you know? And the only thing that I was toying in my head is, some sort of CCTV or camera system. Which, might open up a different can of worms, but I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to enforcement and picking your battles.
Well, I guess what I would say is, what I don't wanna do, and I hear what you're saying about enforcement, but at the same time. The fun part about being a city is that our job is to help tell people no, and they don't like to hear it. And I think there are situations like this one as an example. I mean, this doesn't happen a ton of the time. But if somebody applies to use this shelter and says that it's going to be a private party of 30. And we approve that, and then after the fact, in the days leading up to their thing. They declare, hey, everybody's welcome to a block party with a free dinner. We can yank the reservation, like in advance. Now, after the fact, if they, if they did what they said it would be, it's a private party, and they ended up leaving it disgusting. Then, then we deal with it after the fact. But, I think it's okay to put up signs to discourage, or steer behavior, encourage behavior, discourage behavior. And I think if somebody, I don't think it would be difficult if somebody reserved something, but then they didn't fully disclose what they were going to do, and then they advertise it being something different. We just yank,
Would it be,
we tell them, sorry.
is it wrong to ask to see their invitations or whatever? Or whatever their flyer is?
I think we just tell them, this is the application is where you disclose what your plan is. And we have an attendance limit of 30, and maybe this body's recommendation to council is the policy is it's private parties only of no more than 30, big birthday party or whatever. But if it ends up being an event where the intent, but if they don't fully disclose what their plan is. And then it's try to get even more attendance, it's a church, I get it, it's not about them being an entity being a church and wanting to get. Even more people to show up because that's what they do, they're a church.
But the thing is, it's a church from Hillsborough, it's
Well,
not
that's
a
true, too.
church from North Plains even.
Right, yeah, I think it's a matter of, the application is, maybe we add some language that says that. That underscores, this is for private events of 30 or more, 30 or less. And and so therefore the application and the rental are, the terms of the rental are based on that information. And if the nature of the event changes, they need to talk to us or they risk the reservation being lost.
Yeah, I don't think it's that complicated. I think the key is this form currently is not super clear because we weren't prepared for this issue. So I think we put on it, this is only for private gatherings of 30 or less. It is not for larger public gatherings. And then you make them, I like where you make them check a box, because you're saying, I now verify this is a private event. And then, because I think if we did that on the application, I think it pretty much takes care of it. Right?
Do
Because
they,
they would have found somewhere else to do it, just let them find somewhere else.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Do
think
they
putting
need
that and
insurance?
then noting
Yes.
on the bottom.
Oh,
of the
not for-
trash
Not for the pavilion, just
would
for
be great
this.
for here.
I think noting what you were saying, Bill, on, and John on the top, the private and having them checked off, and then on the bottom, there's already in bold letters on having to clean, but I think what should be added on there is you may be charged a cleaning fee. That, to that end, so they're aware, because if we don't have those, you know, people's like, well, it's not stated, there's no cleaning fee in. But if you kind of add that, then people have,
Yeah.
well, you check this off, you're aware, you sign this off, and sometimes that can be a simple fix.
Yeah, those are, no, those are great. Those are good ads. Those will be easy, that's easy to do. Yeah, we just have an application for a type of rental where the thought was this would just be birthday parties and things. So we're running into types of events or types of rentals that are outside what what the application was intended to be for, so.
Well,
Pretty much
if we
running
have
out.
organizations outside of North Plains, maybe that's something, I mean, not to think about it maybe down the line if it's happening more. Because they're coming here where it's one flat fee versus within their own city, you have a fee, but you have a park attendant that you have to pay and the cleaning. Just for a park shelter, because I used to run that over there, so you have all these added on things. And so they're finding it easier than to come here where it's just a flat fee and then do however and whatever it's pleased of and leave the mess, then maybe there should be a resident and non-resident and then be more of a private event versus a public community event. And then have that highlighted area of, you know, if it's not left in cleaning, then you will be charged a cleaning fee.
Yep, there is a resident and there are resident and non-resident different rental rates for the hall, this building here. So that would be consistent to do it that way or the building too.
Is that something that can be done administratively, or does it have to go before the council?
The only thing technically that needs to go before a council is if we need a new fee for a cleanup, to enforce cleanup, that we can modify. We'll let council know what the nature of the discussion here was. There was concern about events being too big. And the need for an attendance limit. And it being for private events only. And brushing up the application to make that really, really clear. Now there is an adopted cleanup fee for this hall. And since do we know what that is? I can't remember. What that is.
No.
We can look and see what that amount is. And if it's $50 or whatever, it's probably more, but.
I think it's just part of the deposit, is it a $500 deposit? I think it's a
Deposit.
$500
And
deposit.
then cleaning is taken out of it.
Yeah.
We might not have a cleanup fee for this building then.
I even had a cleanup fee at my farm for weddings, $250.
Yeah, so what we're doing now is just netting out, sounds like what we're doing now is netting out of the deposit however much we need for cleanup. We need just a cleanup fee. If needed for the pavilion, so that would be a new fee, and we would have to have council adopt that.
Okay, do we need to request that to
Hmm.
you to take that to them?
Sure,
I mean, the only reason, the other side of the cleanup fee, the reason I wouldn't do it is. I think what Dustin has said, we don't have the staff currently to give it to me clean.
Yeah.
Right? that's the problem. It doesn't work because I've used the place a couple of times and it wasn't totally clean when I got it because the Friday night party group or whoever. And we, so I would just skip the cleanup fee, but until eventually we've gotta have a staff person, but I don't see how you can enforce it. Right? Unless you're gonna give it to people clean. Like this building gets gone through before a big event and it does work because it's ready.
I think what we could do from an enforcement standpoint is we can have part of the checkout of renting is to take photos of the pavilion and email it to the city at a particular city email address. And that same email address would be where a renter, if they show up and the pavilion is in bad shape, they can take photos and send it. And then we know we need to deal with it.
Yeah.
But that would be the only way we would be able to do it. Would be photos sent to an email address to confirm. And maybe that's a condition of the rental. When you leave, you have to take a picture of it showing, that it's clean and then
And
email
it
it to
needs
an
to be
address.
time stamped.
Yeah, the photo, I
Yeah.
mean, it should be, the photo, when you take a photo, it time and location stamps it, so.
Oh.
But that would be as close as we could get to
When they get here,
self-enforcement.
use the same photo.
I just don't think, it's from somebody who just used the place, it's not realistic. You know, like when I arrived, somebody was doing paint on one of the tables. I mean, I'd have to take 10 pictures of every bench, every table, then the floor. It's a lot of work to clarify, and then who did the paint on the table? I didn't do the paint on the table. I don't, anyway. Go ahead, Zach.
Go ahead,
Cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of the issues are around enforcement, right? And I know with the potential for maybe a new position, maybe not, versus a police officer, maybe not. Could it be brought to council that perhaps to help clean up some of the stuff around here, that's why a new position should be had? But maybe perhaps in that new position, that person also works Saturday, Sunday. I mean, I know people don't like that, but perhaps maybe you park that person here, they kind of oversee the whole operations of this facility, from people checking in and out, to the use of this, to bicyclist parking, to all of that. As part, I mean, maybe they work here Saturday, Sunday, and they work in the office, Wednesday and Thursday, or however you wanna negotiate that, but it could help to clean up some of that. Like, you have a point person that is here on the weekends and is employed by the city as part of Parks and Rec's duty. Or maybe did they just do it just during peak months or whatever that may be, to help kind of oversee a lot of this, because then you have somebody that can go to, if it gets where things are, you have multiple parties that shouldn't even be here, then you have somebody that can make that phone call to help. Again, I'm just throwing this out there, this could be a potential thing to bring maybe towards, from my perspective, towards council, as to maybe why a position like this could be had or should be had. It's my 2 cents.
I might be able to have better luck finding a seasonal person that is part-time that does just hours, and then
Sure.
part of the fee is paying for their salary, for their wages. I
Sure.
might have better luck with that than getting someone who's in a, program supervisor position working the weekend.
Fair.
And it could be that they just come and make sure it's clean before the rental time starts. And then they check it at the end.
I know for this building right here, if there's multiple, if there are multiple events coming on, and I know in advance, then I am able to usually schedule my crew for this building. This building is a little bit more intensive than that pavilion out there, but there's lots more rentals for the pavilion than there is this building. But this building is more time intense to make sure that it is clean and checked up on. But I do schedule crews from time to time to check when there are multiple events during the weekend. But I do not have the capacity to do that for all the events that we have on the pavilion.
I have a question. Since you're having a lot of rentals out there, what is the average number? I mean, what is the highest amount of people listed who will be in attendance? Because that's one of the questions on the application.
I don't know,
No,
I don't see them.
okay,
I mean, it'd be a question for April, she handles them all. But most of them, when I see when I see the initial request come through, it's usually
10, 15.
15 to 25 people, 20 people. I mean, it's usually a kid's birthday party, 9 times out of 10. They're just, you know. It really is just small parties.
I mean, don't you, I think it's worked amazingly well this summer, a lot of use, which is what we want. Overall, the place is in pretty good shape. I mean, I think it's been a real effective tool, everybody I talk to likes using it, so. I mean, I think it's been a success overall, which is good.
How do people in North Plains reach out to rent the other pavilions? In like Bryn Hill and Sunset,
They don't,
they can't?
the only one that we have for rental is this one right here.
They have to contact the HOAs. I mean, it's not through the city. We don't have anything to do with those.
The other parks are owned by the HOAs. So it's,
But you maintain them?
No,
no,
HOAs.
yeah, they have there's an easement that allows the general public to go there. But in terms of a rental, no.
So it's not open to the community for rentals?
My understanding is the HOA doesn't rent them out.
We could rent out Sunset Ridges, cause that's a city one now, but the main issue,
Talking about.
okay, that one could be rented out, obviously, but the main downside, the reason everybody comes here is bathrooms. Right? Nobody's gonna use that for a party, cause that's such there's no restroom. So. But we could, right? Technically, we could rent that out. Right?
It was brought up as an option, but we decided not to go with the rental. We never had any requests
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, the people I talk to, again, in the birthday business, you want restrooms, and that's the beauty of Jesse May. 2 nice restrooms.
Okay. So I'll add that to my list.
Shut down again.
Board and staff comments.
Just one of my points.
Anybody on the board have any?
Cindy, when we last had our last meeting. She had requested that. Was wondering if we could request for her to be able to get a key for the. Information box at the Veterans Memorial Park. So she'd be able to add things to it. For the Parks Foundation. Such as like the QR code for it. So. She was curious whether she would. We could request her to get a key for that.
I think it might be easier for her to give us the documentation and then we can put it in there. I think e-control is also something that we're working on, especially for this facility. And so just kind of giving out keys for lots of things around the city is something that we're going to clamp down on.
Okay.
For all the facilities,
Yeah.
like, there's a message board out here now too, that, and the one at City Hall, we prefer that staff have all the keys to those.
She just asked me to ask 2 months ago, and I
Whoops.
just wanted to make sure I remembered to ask.
Yeah,
Well, ask you guys.
no, she did not, but we can have staff if we have.
Yeah, if she just emails them to me.
Yeah.
That's what, like when Patty has flyers, she emails them to me.
I think her thought process is that sometimes it takes a little bit of time for that to happen. And then that she just thought it'd be easier if she could do it herself. That was my understanding.
I mean, I post stuff to the the public places in town every week for meetings, so I'm.
Then, is there anything the Parks Board would like to mention? Cause I know we're gonna have our meeting this Thursday for the Parks Foundation. Or at least supposed to.
Right. Yes, before the chili cook-off.
As far as I know, that's.
I mean, I think the question to them, you know, like I've been involved in quite a bit of fundraising, and usually with a letter, you get this initial thing. And that's your big money. It comes in the first week or two. So I think the question to the foundation is, is there any kind of follow-up to that letter they're planning on? Because the odds are, if we're at $1,000 now, we're not gonna get 50. Right, cause you have this energy that happens in the short run and then nobody even knows where the letter is, so. Unless you're making personal contact follow-ups to people, it's really hard to raise anywhere near that. Right, so I mean, that would be the only question to them is. I mean, they don't have to do it, but is there any other component besides the letter?
And that's a good question.
Anything else to bring up? Okay. That's
Anybody
everything for
else
me then.
have anything?
I mean, the only thing I've mentioned before is. And it links with the pavilion, I mean, to me. The two things, and others have said this too, if eventually we get the full-time director. The other piece for us going forward, I think, would be doing some sort of renovation to this building, cause I think this is. Kind of our centerpiece to Parks and Rec, so. And I know it's under discussion, we'll just have to see going forward if it's feasible, but if we could get some money through the Urban Renewal Agency or something. I think it would be wonderful to do the kitchen first class, potentially a design, maybe the stage comes out, we make it bigger, we make it nice. We redo the floor, whatever. I think this building has a lot of potential to be more usable for all kinds of purposes, but it'll take some money. So I'm a big fan of it, we don't have to talk about it now, but whether or not going forward, we can use some of the urban renewal money or whatever.
At this point, we can't. So.
Well, we
there's no
don't,
way we can right
beyond-
now.
we don't know that, but
We
again,
do know that because it's in the rules. It's not part of the urban growth boundary right now.
No, not the urban growth boundary, the
I-
urban renewal agency.
The urban renewal agency. It's not within that
I mean,
boundary.
I reported
so
it.
it's used.
And I talked to an expert, two experts, they said, our guidelines say we can add 1%. With a simple resolution of the board, you can bring it in to the boundary as long as it's very small, 1% or less.
But you also have to get approval of the other businesses around that are willing to give up their taxes towards it.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do. They have to sign off on it.
If you're doing 1%, my understanding is you don't. The state has added new rules. That if we wanted to use it for a city hall or something, you have to, in those cases. There's a new law I looked up in 2019 that makes it more restrictive, and I think Bill referred to that. But that law also says this rule does not apply to Parks and Rec facilities. It's like if a city wanted to do a city hall, you have to go back to the taxing districts and get a secondary.
Tired of this conversation.
Pardon?
So we're gonna talk about the need for an update to the urban renewal plan for the city. And we're gonna have a consultant come in, when she can get us on our calendar, she's gonna come in and we'll begin a process of discussing with her. She's gonna, the plan will be to start off with a discussion with council, tax increment finance, urban renewal 101. And then discuss the need for a couple of amendments to the plan. One is to extend the sunset date so that the urban renewal agency can continue to do things for another 20 years or however long. And then the second thing is that the plan is it's done about everything it's supposed to. There have been a bunch of changes in law regarding urban renewal and tax increment finance since the plan was adopted in 2006. And so there needs to be an entirely new plan, and that's a significant undertaking. So there's a few different things that we need to do. And so she'll address the use of urban renewal money for public improvements versus private development improvements. So she'll talk about.
And a new plan, which would likely have a new boundary, correct? It doesn't have to use the same boundary.
No, I mean, the process can identify that the urban renewal district changes, the boundary changes, so.
Cause that one neighborhood on the far side of town wouldn't be in it anymore. It didn't even exist, you know, that neighborhood on the other side of Glencoe is currently all included in the boundary, but now that it's built out, it wouldn't be in, so. There's no reason, again, I want to hear it from the expert, I agree, don't rely on me, but the question is there any reason this area could be brought in, would be the question for her. And again, I get that, don't rely on my opinion.
Does
So-
it extend to homes?
Right?
Does it extend to homes or is it just businesses?
No, it includes, there have been houses built in the urban renewal district. In the district that the city has, homes have been built.
But you wouldn't include a new neighborhood, it was included because we wanted to build homes, which homes were built, so that's in a sense a success, right?
Yeah, it is. The trick though is that anything you take out is no longer generating revenue for the urban renewal agency. And so if you take any existing any development that's happened that was there prior or happened since adoption of the district, if you take it out, that reduces the revenue that goes into the urban renewal district and therefore reduces the resources for the district doing different things. So you kind of gotta, work through how much do you adjust it where, that sort of. I mean, the city's grown in size. So at the end of the day, the urban renewal district, the smartest thing is probably to just, if we do anything with the boundaries, just to add to it. Grow it. But that's all a process of discussion with council.
And does that have to get approval by the people in the area
It
that it's
depends,
expanding?
it depends on how much and for what. Since I did urban renewal planning, laws have changed. So I'm not up on all of the newest laws regarding that. But what I can say is that to bring. We'll let her talk about it, but what has happened over time is the laws have been changed and urban tax increment finance has been changed in order to make it harder and harder to do public improvements. To use tax money, because TVFNR and other agencies are giving up tax revenue. And it's going into the urban renewal agency. And if the city is using it to improve public property, a park, whatever, that's purely a public asset, a park, for instance, or Jesse Mays Community Hall for that matter. That's tax revenue going to improve our public facilities that they gave up that they could be using to expand their bay or buy trucks or whatever. And so it's gotten harder and harder and over time to use urban renewal money to pay for public facilities. It's gotten more and more limited to be used to facilitate private development. And so that's part of the consideration when we go through the process with a consultant.
And when is that meeting?
I haven't gotten her on our schedule yet. We've gotten to the point where she's about the only person in the state that does this aspect of urban, like the legal stuff. There used to be 3 or 4 consultants. When I did it, I worked with another one. He's gone, he's passed away. He's no longer, he's not alive anymore. So things have kind of narrowed down to really, she's the one that does that sort of thing. The legal aspect of it, but there are others who do the community meetings and the financial planning of it. There's a few of those. But the person that kind of goes through the legal process with city councils on that has dwindled. So it's just a matter of getting on her calendar. We're just not on it yet.
Okay.
But she's very aware of our situation.
Her name is what?
Her name is, I'm gonna say the name wrong. Elaine Howard is her name.
Elaine Howard.
Elaine Howard.
Very nice.
Okay. Are there, does anybody else have anything? Any other board? No? Any, staff updates?
No updates unless you have questions for myself.
I mean, I think we were saying there's no great solution like this last weekend and I guess there's no easy solution, but the toilets got plugged like on a Saturday. And if somebody turns in a request, there's no staff that even sees that, right?
Typically not until Monday, and that's not considered an emergency under how we have our emergency is supposed to come in, yeah.
I mean, the awkward part is eventually they were both plugged, filled with very unsightly stuff, and then there's events and. I don't know at what point we'd have to call somebody in. It's never happened, as far as I'm aware, until this last weekend, but it was both of them. Very badly plugged, so. Doesn't sound like there's a good way around that, right?
I believe it's called a plunger.
Pardon?
So I believe the solution you're looking for is a plunger. Plus, they don't work that way. I mean, how badly could it be?
I wish I had staff that was working
Right.
on the weekend. That would be the most reasonable, sensible way to do things. Just have someone on call for the weekend just for that, but I do not have that ability at this point.
Okay.
All right. Joseph, do you have anything you have to say?
Gosh, I don't know if I have a speech prepared, but, you know, I want to say thank you for having me tonight. It's always great just to see some different perspectives, to kind of wrap up a couple things that were discussed earlier. Really encourage participation. I know everyone has really busy lives, but I encourage all of you to come to council meetings, provide your feedback, your testimony regarding your vision, and, you know, the desire for, you know, that parks position. I would also, I tried to capture some notes, but I'd also encourage maybe at a future meeting, really solidifying maybe your top 3 things that you're looking for, your wish list. So I heard a little bit, from, Chair Simmons about, you know, updating the park equipment, Louis Wins, signage each park, movies in the park, and I loved, just the collaboration. It's just really cool to see everyone here thinking outside of the box, and I hope everyone in the community gets to see how creative all of you are to just try to make something from nothing. So I just want to say thank you, because I know it's not easy when there are limited resources. I think the other thing I would share, and I had a question for Bill, and this might be something we discussed during a future council meeting. But is there, if we were to bring on a parks position, which I know is in this biennium budget, is that something that if you had a crystal ball could sustain and still be a position in the next biennium, you know? I know we budgeted for the next 2 years for this, but I'm just thinking further ahead, what would be the first thing to go? And it feels like parks board position or parks position would be something that would be non-essential if we have to make tough decisions.
I mean.
And I know there's no crystal ball.
That's a crystal ball question. I mean, it's ultimately up to you all. You know, it's easy to, you know, depending on what the situation is 2 years from now, if, if things haven't changed or we haven't identified some different approaches to funding things, but it's easy to just cut it. That's super easy. I just don't think, I think it's gonna take more, if solutions aren't identified in 2 years, I think it's gonna have to be more than that. So, yeah.
Okay, but with that, I just want to say thank you again, and that is all I have, so thank you. Anything you need for me to pass along or share feedback with council?
And I don't think so. I think we'll send an email out and with some requests. So,
Love it. Okay, thank you.
all right. With that, we'll adjourn at 7:28.